Hi, everyone. David Aragona here with Craig Milkowski, and we are taking a look at the Grade 2 Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes on Saturday at Keeneland. This is a 6-furlong race for the filly and mare sprinter, serving as a prep for the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. Though, Craig, I doubt we're going to see any of the horses coming out of this race considered major contenders in that Breeders' Cup event in a few weeks, because feels like the likely favorites in that spot are not competing here at Keeneland on Saturday.
Yeah, it does look that way. I mean, we got some solid horses with some name reputation, and Bell's the One and Frank's Rocket. They're the first two choices on the morning line. And Frank's Rocket actually ran in the Breeders' Cup Sprint for some reason last year. But hard to imagine either one of these being a real player. Maybe Bell's the One if she reverted back to some of her older races.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with Bell's the One being the favorite in this race. She's listed, I believe, 7-5 on the morning line. She was actually third in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint last year, but was no match for the talented Gamine that day. And she's had a solid 2021 campaign, but she is a deep closer in a race that doesn't feature a ton of early speed. So as we take a look at the pace projector for this race, she is going to have to work out a trip from off the pace. And the number 3 in the midst of Biz, Craig, she is actually the defending champion in this Thoroughbred Club of America. She does have a lot of early speed, but there are a couple of other horses that could press her. I just wonder if those other stalking types are going to be ridden aggressively, because they haven't been in some of the recent races.
Yeah, we know we've talked about Frank's Rocket many times on our podcast. She's a horse who often isn't ridden like I think she could be. She's shown at times in her career she's a really fast filly, but they seem to prefer to just kind of take her back, go slow, sit off the pace a little bit. And I'm not sure from the rail that's going to work out very well. So if I had to pick one horse that might challenge for the lead that isn't shown up front on the pace projector, it would be her, mainly because of that post position.
And you see that number 6, Bell's the One, listed on the left of your screen. She is last in the pace projector with that favors honor near the early lead tag. So she's going to have to overcome that to win this race. But she's overcome slow paces in the past. As we take a look at Bell's the One's PPs, she's been in good form in 2021, only has 2 victories to show for it, but she's overcome a few slow paces, as Craig has highlighted here, particularly in that Derby City Distaff when she finished 4th to Gamine. They just really walked up from that day. But I thought she ran very well too back in the honorable miss when she got up to win with that 1:16 time Formula speed figure, and last time just slightly second best to her familiar rival Sconsin.
Yeah, and last time, I mean, you can see how consistent she is. She had run speed figures in the mid-1 teens at least 4 times in a row. The last time dropped down to a 110, but that was strictly because the pace was just so slow. They weren't able to run very fast, but it was a race unlike the 1-4 back where we gave it a bit of an upgrade due to the pace. It would have upgraded too many horses in that field, so we didn't do it here. So I'm not putting a lot of stock in that 110, and I do think Bell's the One is obviously a serious player in here, despite the lack of pace.
You know, one of the keys for me with Bell's the One, and we're not showing it in the career box right here, but you can check it out on Typeform US if you click on the horse's career rating. You can see their specific records at different distances. And while Bell's the One has raced over 7 furlongs for the majority of her career, I think most of her starts have actually come at 7 furlongs. I think she's better going shorter. I think 6 furlongs is the ideal distance for her. She was actually 5 for 5 at 6 furlongs coming into that last race in the Open Mind, where she just got beaten narrowly by Sconsin, who is a good horse in her own right. But I really do think the shorter distance allows Bell's the One to come with a more potent late run, and she's going to have to over this distance with a very slow pace likely ahead of her. Let's take a look at that horse that we were talking about with regard to the pace projector, the number 1, Frank's Rocket. And Craig, I know we kind of agree on this, as you were alluding to. She's a frustrating horse to watch get managed by her connections, because it seems like they're just unaware of the early speed that this filly has, and they typically don't make use of it. And even when she went to the lead 2 back, it was at an extremely slow pace at Prairie Meadows.
Yeah, they tend to keep other horses in the race, and it makes things tough. Now, last time out at Colonial, she just had a bit of a nightmare trip. She broke a little bit slow. I do think we're going to take a look at that race. And it was a race where the hole closed after she broke slow. She had to go wide. So a lot of people might point to the trouble she had and say that she ran well to finish the way that she did. But for me, I was disappointed because I still think she should have won that race. It was a pretty weak field. You won't find any graded stakes winners in there. I don't believe the speed figures came back pretty low. So I'm going to ignore that trouble and just think Frank's Rocket isn't that good anymore unless they try something different.
Yeah, we're pretty much on the same page about this one, and I actually took a stronger stance against her than you did. I don't like the way that they've been riding her recently, and because of that, I'm pretty concerned about the rail draw here because she's drawn inside of her main pace rival, and if Junior Alvarado does what he typically does on her and defers to another horse with any modicum of early speed, she might find herself behind horses in a pocket, taking some dirt in her face. And I don't think that's the kind of trip that Frank's Rocket really wants. We saw how she didn't react that well to that kind of trip last time at Colonial Downs. And I agree with you, even though she didn't get a great trip and a great start that day, she still should have beaten those inferior rivals as the 2-5 favorite. And I just think she's coming into this race a little bit dressed up off some weaker efforts against lesser competition. So I'm totally against Frank's Rocket in this spot. The other speed horse who maybe I was a little bit too dismissive of, Craig, and I know that you're more interested in than I am, is the number 3 In the Midst of Biz, who is the defending champion in this race. And she does have a lot of early speed, and I do expect her, like the pace projector indicates, to be ahead of Frank's Rocket in the early going.
Yeah, I'm a guy who has a handicapper. I like horses that come back and try to win races they've won in the past. I like when trainers try to repeat patterns. And you can see that's exactly what's happening here with In the Midst of Biz. She won that Satin and Lace Stakes at Presque Isle Downs last year and followed it up with a big win in the Thoroughbred Club of America, just like she's trying again here. Now, she didn't win this time, but it was a bit tougher field. She didn't get an ideal setup. You can see she was tracking a fast pace. But her speed figure was the same, and I think she's coming into this race the right way. She had that minor prep kind of in between at Indiana. That was just a paid workout, really. She was 3-5, only won by a head, but I think she got done what she wanted to that day. And I just like how she's coming into this race. I like what the pace projector shows, that she could be all alone in the front. And I particularly like that 10-1 morning line because I do think she's got a shot in here.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with her, and I ultimately took a stand against her as well, kind of going against both of the speed horses in this race. I mean, I just don't know what to do with that Thoroughbred Club of America from 2020, and we'll take a look at the stretch run of that race because she was a dominant winner, and she got a competitive 117 time Formula speed figure. It's just that's the only number in her career that puts her in hailing distance of winning this race. So does she just have an affinity for Keeneland going 6 furlongs in this particular race? Or is it like you said, Greg, and they just have pointed to this spot once again this year, and she's going to step forward? Because even though she's coming off a similar effort to last year in that Satin and Lace, merely a repeat of that Satin and Lace is not going to get it done here. So she's going to have to step up and run another big race, but she could have the best of it on the front end. So I do respect that angle, that she will be the likely speed. The number 4, Estilo Talentoso, is a horse that we probably should mention as well. We didn't send in a graphic for her, but she is a horse who does have a little bit of seconditis. She typically doesn't love to win her races. She's happy to defer to another horse, but she's run a series of speed figures that put her right in the mix here. She's also not a deep closer. She has some tactical speed. Craig, how did you view her in this race? Did you just not want to put her on top, or is she one that you would more rather use underneath?
Yeah, I'd more rather use her underneath, particularly now since the morning lines come out since we did our picks, and she's 5-2 on it and just offers no value whatsoever to me. I mean, she's steady as she comes, and that kind of speed figure can certainly win this race, but I suspect that some horses are going to run better, and if she runs her normal figure, she's going to be running for second or third.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I upgraded her a little bit more because I thought she's faced some better fields in her last couple of starts and was dropping a bit coming into this TCA. But let's throw up our picks for this race. As you can see, I did put that number 4, Estilo Talentoso, second. I've got the favorite on top, the number 6, Bell's the One. Don't love taking horses like this at the favorite, closers that have to overcome likely slow paces. I just think Bell's the One is the best horse in this race, and she's competing over her favorite 6 furlong distance. So I couldn't latch on to any of the alternatives at bigger prices. I'm not going to be running to the windows to bet her at 7-5. I just thought she was the most likely winner of this race.
Yeah, and I could see she is the most likely winner. I was just looking for a little more value. If you're going to take a horse like Bell's the One in a field like this, you want to do it when you don't like the speed horse. And if that's your case, I can understand it. I'm going to give her a shot at a bigger price to refine that form she had at Keeneland last year, and hope she's able to repeat it and at a big number.
Craig's on the long shot, the number 3 in the midst of biz. I'm on the favorite, number 6, Bell's the One, in the Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes on Saturday at Keeneland. Good luck if you're playing this weekend.